suffering be dispelled. Let all pain and suffering be dispelled. Here, may all pain and suffering be dispelled. That is the point of us coming together right now, as far as I can tell, but there are many ramifications to that. The suffering, I mean, this is Easter, obviously you know that, and I've always found this a really, really fascinating time of the year. I've noticed that there's a tendency for it to be quite heavy, for me anyway. I'm looking back over it. When I was younger, it used to throw me quite a lot. And now, I've gone through it enough times that I love it now. I like the intensity and the way it throws me. I think that's part of the whole Taoist game, is that you just got to love whatever's actually happening, because you learn to transcend preferences. For it being not heavy, for example. So if it's heavy, it's like, instead of fighting it, you go, yeah, come on, I love this, I love the heavy. And the reason I posit that it is heavy, and I know it's not just me, because I've been inundated over the last couple of days with emails and phone calls and all sorts from people who are really going through it, is because it's an astronomical phenomenon. It's something it's subtle but no less powerful for it. Sirius A, which is a star 8.6 light years away from our sun, is orbited by a dark star called Sirius B, and it's an elliptic orbit, and once a year, in accordance with the lunar calendar, it drops out of its normal path for 3 days and then comes back up again. And upon that phenomenon was based the myth of the death of Osiris, who was the Egyptians called Sirius B Osiris, and his resurrection 3 days later is Horus, the hawk bird god. In other words, one that flies. And Isis was the mother, was Sirius A. And this later became, when the Romans took Christianity on, they grafted the kind of modern version onto that. And so you had Jesus getting crucified and then getting resurrected 3 days later, which is obviously symbolic. I mean, you're surely not really meant to believe that literally, are you? And it's a very, very powerful time of year. It coincides with, or actually, as you know, is part of the Jewish Passover festival, which is an 8-day or a 7-day feast, which is, the myth of it is that it's to commemorate the freedom from slavery of the people, the Israelites, who then went through a series of trials and miracles, the Red Sea being parted and all that stuff, and then finding themselves in this limbo land for 40 years before they could get to the promised land, during which time they were tempted to worship Mammon, the golden calf, the god of money, while Big Daddy Moses was up on the mountain collecting the laws, the commandments from God, who had etched them somehow or other into some stone for him. So there was all that conflict between greed and avarice on the one hand, or pure ethical living on the other, which is what the Ten Commandments represent. And eventually, somehow or other, existing on manna and quail, or whatever they existed on, they got to the Promised Land, which is symbolic of freeing yourself from the bondage of the illusion or delusion that we are less than divine beings, freeing yourself from the bondage of the misguided ego, the constructed self, which seeks external fulfillment, gratification, rewards constantly in vain, because the real fulfillment can only come from the God within. And once you committed yourself to what some people might describe as the spiritual path, there will be the 40 years of the symbolic period of being in the wilderness a bit, where you let go of the one, the structure, the social structure that you were conditioned by, and you haven't yet found your sea legs, so to speak, in the enlightened state. And eventually you come into the Promised Land, which is the enlightened state, being transcendent. And the Passover starts off with 2 feast days and ends with nothing. I don't think it ends with anything, but these are the last 2 days of it, and they're significant, or considered significant for this. What the advice is that you use this time to aspire to the greatest freedom, and traditionally we said future redemption, but I would suggest that that actually means that you aspire to the greatest freedom now, and that is your redemption. And so that there's a complete, and I know that the 2 festivals are linked, and that one, the Jewish one, I suspect predates anything Judaic and goes right back to the Isis worship, goddess worship religion that was there a long time before. Anyhow, the whole point I was saying is that this time of the year there's something goes on a magnetic level. It's very, very subtle, but we do know that the various heavenly bodies exert gravitational pulls. And, we know that, for example, the furthermost planets in our solar system have an actual measurable gravitational pull on the Earth. Even though they're so far away, it's almost impossible to believe it, but they do, and it's measurable, and it's strong. And the same goes for Sirius A and B. Now, how the ancients knew about that, goodness knows. Whether the aliens did come and tell them about it, whether they had much more advanced technology in the ancient days than we are aware of, which would make sense because that's how they built pyramids, and we're still not able to do that, for example. But they knew, and I've personally always experienced it as being quite challenging on an existential level. It's just that for some reason it makes me look at my life and evaluate it and go into the down and then the resurrection, the back up. So there is an actual process that occurs over a 3-day period. And the reason that I'm saying all this, apart from the fact that it's opposite to the time of the year, is because this second in the sequence of the nuts of Taoism, we're looking in depth today at what makes Taoist practice different from most others is that the idea is that you embody the Tao. You don't go seeking for it above you, around you, in temples or altars or anywhere outside. You embody it. And in other words, you use your body, or you give your body over, the space that your body occupies internally, to being a temple, if you like, but also a disco. It's the both, because the Taoist template has it, that there is this supreme being. That's a limited way of putting it, but you can't describe Tao because it's not anything you get, it's ineffable. So the best I can do today is supreme being. I just like that one because I saw it was a name of a fashion label that I walked past a shop in Germany, and I saw it yesterday. It said supreme. I thought, oh, I love that one. I haven't used that for ages, and I don't want to make it sound like a person. It's just the supreme being. Is just everything. It's the one, and it initially or originally exists behind linear time in an undifferentiated state. It's not manifested as anything, in other words. It just is. This is what the Taoists refer to as Wu Qi, the supreme ultimateness, or if you want to say non-existent. We can't grasp non-existent with the intellect. The Tao has it in its way, its nature, to explode into being, into manifest being, and a universe is born. Here we are. And it manifests itself in the same way as on a more local nature. Nature manifests itself as flowers growing in the garden. The Tao manifests itself as each of us. And here we all sit, a couple of hundred people, whatever it is, around the planet right now, and each of us is the Tao expressing itself, but with our particular faces on. And we're conditioned to believe we're not that. We're conditioned to believe we're, tiny little beings scuffling about on the surface of the planet. Our whole purpose to make some money and make things secure and safe for ourselves and our kids and our grandchildren and all of that stuff, and make a face for ourselves in society and do good works and die having left a legacy behind of some worth so people remember us. But this is a very limited experience of the human adventure. According to the Taoists, if you can divest yourself of that illusory mantle and instead embody the presence that's informing the entire universe, the supreme being, your whole life then transforms, because your experience of being who you are, it's universal, and you're aware of yourself acting out here on the earth plane. But this acting out is merely an expression of nature. The real action is what's going on behind, and that is this supreme being having fun. Now, it imbues itself in its manifest form with some sort of amnesia pill, or with some sort of amnesia, so that it forgets who it is. And then the game starts with its manifest form, i.e. you or I, hunting for the Tao, because we know it's there, so we're always searching for it. And societally speaking, we did it through religion and, in my opinion, without any disrespect, relatively clumsy approach to the realization of it. We've tried it in all sorts of ways, and now we're going to try it this way. But it's not trying, because it's actually going to be doing it. The point is that our highest function, according to Taoism, is to serve as conduits for the energies of heaven and earth, as it's usually put, which means that our highest function is to become awake to the fact that we are the Tao, and to express and share that with all of our fellows, so that everybody remembers, and then the Tao remembers itself. It says hello to itself because it enjoys that. It is a game of hide and seek, so it'll never let itself be fully revealed, of course. But the game is that. Now I see you, now I don't. Now I see you, now I don't. Otherwise, I can imagine it would just get really bored sitting for eternity in an unmanifest form. So that's the game we're playing. And we are generally, I'm sure there are people here from Asia who are not indoctrinated like this, but Western people, we're indoctrinated with the idea that the Tao, or our version of it, God, is an entity that punishes or rewards us. Now, this is a delusion, according to this Taoist philosophy, the only entity that will punish us is ourselves. And we do that by forgetting what we are. And when we make mistakes, which we inevitably will, when we don't quite hit the mark when we're dealing with other people, which is inevitable, it will happen, we punish ourselves for it. Rather than just understanding it, accepting it, and forgiving it, i.e. stopping punishing ourselves, and noting it so that next time we have an option of doing it differently, we carry it with us as some sort of guilt and believe that we need redemption of some sort. Well, the redemption is that, the reward, if you like, is that, of knowing that we are divine beings and it's actually okay. We're doing the very best we can all the time. And the more we encourage ourselves that we're doing the best we can, the better we'll do. That's how good teaching works. When we operate through a system of fear, which we impose upon ourselves as a form of punishment, we tend not to do as well. So the intention of today is for us collectively and individually to align far more thoroughly and wholly with the flow of the Tao, and to jar that flow less and less, because it's the fear thoughts that we put in the mix, which are indicative of us punishing ourselves through this misguided belief, that jar the flow. And they get in the way of things moving in a beautiful way. They get in the way of the Tao expressing itself with its full elegance. So the less we can jar, the better. Now, when I say flow, this is a word that's bandied about a lot these days without a lot of explanation. When the Tao manifests itself, as the Tao manifests itself, it puts itself into motion. So the undifferentiated state, there is no motion, there is nothing. It springs into being as a universe, and every aspect of it, from the tiniest quark to the largest galactic cluster, is in motion. And nothing escapes it. Everything manifests is moving. And that motion is a flow. It's a very complex flow, and it's as big as the whole universe, and it's a flow. And by embodying the Tao, by giving our bodies over, if you like, as an arena through which the Tao can be experienced, we align ourselves with the flow, and providing we don't jar it too much subsequently, the flow will carry each of us now most elegantly into a fresh, beautiful, more expanded, more magnificent, more glorious scenario. And this is important for us because it's our birthright to attain the maximum blessing of this journey, and in attaining it, to share it and give it. So it's important for us individually, it's important for society, because the more of us that are flowing in our personal power and therefore elegantly manifesting what we need around us in a way that is respectful of others and beneficial to everybody, the more beautiful the world will be for all humans. And even more importantly than that, the Tao, the presence, the Supreme Being informing all of us, will be enjoying itself more. And one would presume, I mean, I don't really think that it has a motivation in manifesting the universe, it just does it. But assuming there was a motivation, surely it would be to enjoy itself, wouldn't it? I don't really think the Tao would want to manifest itself and be miserable. I mean, of course, there is misery, and it and us are not afraid of that, of course, because misery is just misery, it's part of it. But underneath, behind all of that, there is this presence, the Supreme Being, just observing everything and thinking it's all perfect, absolutely perfect. In all its imperfection, it's utterly perfect. And in that total transcendence of preferences, everything is perfect. This innate state of perpetual delight arises. And it's us that are able to experience it on behalf of the Tao. That's what it wants us to do. That's why there's this drive to become enlightened that started way back at the end of the 1800s, way before it. It's always been there. It's been carried through as a tradition. But in the Western world, you had like Madame Blavatsky, you had Freud, you had Jung, you had Gurdjieff, and so on and so on and so on. And then it grew and grew and grew until the 60s, massive quantum explosion of it all. And a little bit of contracting and opening, contracting, and here we are again in what would likely be the biggest renaissance in our history anyway. And it does that. It's urging that because it wants to feel the joy through as many of us as possible. And that's what we're doing here today. So if you're ready, and by the way, welcome. If you've never been before, it's lovely to have you here. If you've been before, it's lovely to have you here. The meditation that we're about to do, I have no idea what it's going to be myself. I'm now about to close my eyes and go into what you might call the channeling mode. And I would suggest that you also close your eyes and relax yourself. And by that I mean just firstly take note of how you're sitting. I would advise sitting in a comfortable chair. It's probably best. Let the colours from the beautiful slides that Christine producer Sue, who's in Ibiza, while I am in rainy Highgate, we've done a switch around, that she's prepared. Let the light from those bathe your eyelids and very subtly create a movement of light. While the rest of you can take this opportunity to settle inside your skin, because the world is exciting in one way or another. It draws the energy of the body upwards towards the head where the thinking goes on. And the first thing would be to allow the energy to drop down and fill up in your belly. Imagine you were a Daruma doll, you know, the round-based dolls with the weighted bottom, so you push them. However far you push them, they'll just swing round and come upright again. And that weighted base, that sense of being weighted down in the base of you, that's allowing the energy to drop. So you could imagine no matter which way the forces of destiny were to push you or pull you, you'd never fall over. You'd always just roll round and come back upright again, but in a beautiful, flowing, circular way, without resistance, simply by having this wonderful round weighted base. So to see yourself like that, and allow the upper part, the head, the chest, to empty itself, a little bit like an egg timer, like the sand dropping down and filling up, but going from the top container to the bottom container. Allow your breathing to open up rather than suppress it. So let your belly swell with the air coming in luxuriantly, and be unafraid to pull the muscles of the belly back towards your spine to expel the air again. And allow yourself to delight in the sensory pleasure of drawing the air in and expelling it again. As you do, remind yourself that air is quite possibly, in fact definitely, the most precious resource that we all have. The breathing draws in the energy that we need, and the breathing out expels the toxins. We wouldn't be alive if we weren't doing it. So value this elixir of life, this ultimate elixir of life. Appreciate it as it's coming and going out, and allow its ingress and egress to occur with smoothness. Let it be a silken tone, and slow it down, and let it be as silent as possible. And you'll notice immediately that the tone of your consciousness has likewise softened and slowed down. Become aware of your physical mainframe, your skeletal structure, and uncrumple yourself. The two aims of this is to lengthen and to broaden. So imagine that you have a hook on the crown of your head with a piece of invisible thread attached to it, and some benign being standing above you is winching gently and steadily the crown of your head upwards to the ceiling, so that you get a feeling of the back of your neck lengthening. And keep it coming until you feel the whole spine unfurling, a little bit like a snake being charmed out of its basket. And this is enhanced by seeing a golf ball-sized sphere of bright white light spinning at the speed of light, 186,000 miles a second, in a clockwise direction, an inch or so above the crown of the head, or say a thumb's width above the crown of the head. This is called raising the spirit of vitality. And to match this, to be in line with it, allow your breastbone to be carried upwards just a millimetre, upwards and slightly outwards, in a gesture of rising up to all that is beautiful, so that you're bringing your heart into the play. Not only are you raising your spirit of vitality, you're bringing your humanness, your beauty, your inner beauty into play as well. So you're warming the experience. Now, with your spine elongated, you can afford to drop your shoulders and to let them broaden out. So be expansive with the shoulder girdle. Take the space that you're entitled to. And in dropping the shoulders, you're dropping the weight of this illusion of being this person with a life on the planet, scuttling about, achieving things, succeeding, failing, all that. You drop all that. Just drop the story. So you're free now. Free. So here we are, aspiring to the greatest freedom. We are now about to open up to receive our reward. The chest is a little bit like a cage, and it's there to protect your heart, not just the physical heart though, the energetic heart, the heart center, crimson palace, the home or the repository of your unique essence, the beauty of your soul, the exquisite beauty of your soul, that which when you were born all the adults gathered around and because of it were going, gosh, you're so beautiful, you're so beautiful. That part of you that got covered over through the pain and the fear of the pain of dealing with other people, things go wrong. Imagine the two halves of the cage miraculously opening like the Dead Sea parting, or a pair of sliding doors opening in a cliff face in a James Bond movie, but rather than a missile, there appears now in the midst the most beautiful cluster of precious jewels, bedecked by gorgeous flowers, mythical flowers, like thousand-petaled lotuses, emitting a fragrance so sweet that it makes even frangipani pong. Something so sweet and divine that even the rose is disgusting compared to it. This is such a gorgeous, beautiful fragrance that even jasmine is something that you go, ugh, because this is just so gorgeous, it's indescribable. This is the fragrance of the divine itself. And it just radiates freely now through the open chest. All around you, all within you, and to everyone in our circle here, and to everyone that everyone knows, and everyone knows, and so everyone on the planet is bathed in this radiance. And now, allow yourself to drop back inside. Allow yourself to sink back inside. Let your presence retract itself from the front of your body, where all the excitement goes on, and all the fear goes on, and all the noise goes on, where the vulnerability is from which you've been shielding yourself. Come back into the back instead. Take your place in the throne room of the kingdom, or the queendom. Sit all the way back in your inner throne. Lean up against your shoulder blades, the front of your spine, the rear pelvic bones, the sacral bone, and let your mind retract itself from the front of the brain, where all the noise and busyness is, and let it sit comfortably and quietly and serenely in the back of the brain instead. Let your mind lean up against the rear wall of the skull. Now you are the big presence sitting back inside, in the throne room, in command of the realm. And the realm is all around you, and it's in front of you, and you're in command of it. And you don't stop where your physical back is. You keep going all the way back into infinity. And the further back you go, the bigger you are. And the bigger you are, the further back you go, until what you are is everything forever and ever and ever and ever. And in front of you is the everything forever and ever and ever and ever that hasn't happened yet in linear time. And this everything, forever and forever and forever, we call destiny. And destiny is your beloved, because you are the Tao. Here you sit, the entire universe, with your face on the front, and in front of you and all around you is what hasn't happened yet, destiny. And it's your beloved. This is the meeting of the yin and the yang, the what's come before with the what's not come yet. And here you are, the arena in which it meets. So you allow destiny to flow into you from the front, to enter in through your temples and fill your body, and be sitting inside of you, facing the front, organized around an invisible yet somehow palpable, small but also hugely large orb that sits just in front of your solar plexus in another dimension altogether. And now here you sit, channeling the entire universe, holding it as a conduit for it, and the informative presence of the entire universe. And what hasn't yet been made manifest is also within you. You are now totally in command of destiny. After all, you are the Tao. And you're aware that you exist in everyone else in this circle simultaneously. You're aware that you exist simultaneously in everyone on this planet. You're aware that you exist simultaneously in every sentient being throughout this universe. You're aware that you exist simultaneously in every sentient being who has ever lived in this entire universe and will ever live in this entire universe. You're aware that all of this is you. And you breathe, and the heart remains open, and visualize that we're somehow managing to hold hands with each other in this vast circle, like angels, because as the one steps down into manifold form, we could say the next level that it manifests as is the angelic. So here we are, these huge angels, as big as the entire universe, each of us. And way out there in front, these tiny little facades, these people that we know we know ourselves as, who exist on the earth plane. And it's as if we are so far big, back and huge. When we look to the local self, it seems to be light years away out in front, and tiny, living its life on the planet, doing the best it can. Now, you, as the Tao, right now, are able to guide that person who you think of as you, to give that person its divine revelation, its epiphany. You know how it is when religious people go off on a quest to receive guidance from the divine. They are still in the state of believing themselves to be an individuated being. The reward comes from knowing ourselves as the big presence. And then the big presence is able to inject the local person now with the enlightenment, with the vision, with the courage, with the confidence, with all the resources that the local person needs to take the next step, to undergo the next phase of the adventure. So now you be the God, you be the Tao, and feel yourself infusing the local self, the person that you think of yourself as usually, with all the information, all the divine guidance, all the divine powers, and all the resources that the local person needs to go on the next phase of the adventure. And let's just sit in silence for a moment, allowing that energy, the transmission, to occur from big you, us, the Tao, to the local selves. I'm right here with you, and I'll be back shortly with words. And as the big being, visualize a laser fine stream of brilliantly bright light ascending from the coccyx at the base of your spine, up the rear of your spine, to the very crown of your head, and then moving forwards and dropping down in front of the brain and along the front of the spine to between the legs to form the loop. And as the divine being, as the supreme being, as the physical body breathes in, see it activate the light running up the rear of the loop. And as the physical body breathes out, see that activate the light running down the front of the loop. Until with the flowing breath, the loop of light is constant, and allow it to keep spinning by its own momentum. And contemplate that every time the light particles shoot upwards along the rear of the spine to the crown, it's refining the essence of who you are, making it stronger, amplifying the qualities that are the fine qualities that make life fine, and naturally therefore drawing to your person the fine people that are required to help you on the next phase of your adventure. And contemplate, as the light spins by its own momentum, that every time the light particles rush down the front part of the stream, it's progressively more purifying the essence of who you are, cleansing your essence of all negative residue, both internally and externally, in the people that are in your orbit or have been, so that you're able to divest yourself of any energy that is no longer useful or helpful to you. You're able to naturally free up everything and everyone that needs to be freed to make space for the new. And all this is occurring via the mechanism of the light circulating within. And in this state, as the Tao, as big as the whole universe, with the person, the local person, far, far away in front, with this loop of light circulating with its own momentum within, you are actually refining and purifying the entire cosmos for the sake of all sentient beings. And because we're all doing it together, the effect is exponentially multiplied. And behind is a sense of all the stories that have been lived. Not just your own local story in this lifetime so far, but the stories of all those who came before. And specifically in your individual case, all your own ancestors, though collectively, in the sense of us all being the one supreme being, the sense of the stories of everyone who's ever been before, all of that is behind. And not just the people, but all sentient beings throughout the universe. All the stories are behind. And in front are all the stories yet to occur. And the meeting of this huge archetypal angel of destiny and the force of all the protective force of everything that's come before is going on within you now. So you're perfectly, perfectly safe. And everything that is coming is benign. Everything that is coming is an expression of the absolute love of the Supreme Being for its manifestation, you. And because you sit in your back, you're solid, that you can withstand anything that happens and maintain equanimity. You can maintain this state of perpetual delight now, all the time. So even as you allow yourself to re-engage with the more familiar physical realm, where it appears that you're inhabiting a human body, you're still able to maintain this awareness, this consciousness that is primordial and universal in your back. And so that wherever you go, whomever you meet, wherever your gaze falls, wherever your intention goes, miracles will occur. Miracles of healing, miracles of serendipity. And they will occur for everyone around you, and they will occur for you. So this coming week, as we spring off this resurrection platform here, we'll see us all experiencing beautiful, beautiful surprises in all areas. And things that have appeared to go wrong will be seen clearly to have only done so to make way for things that go right, without us forcing it or contriving it or manufacturing it, merely by allowing it to come to us. And because we are strong, we have all the strength of the Tao within us, we're able to perform all our tasks with excellence and without draining our energy away. To the contrary, by becoming more energized as we go along. So with every step we take now, with every breath we take, we're each becoming stronger, more confident, more clear-minded, more open-hearted, safer feeling, more relaxed around other people, easy to laugh, more joyful, loving every single moment of being alive, regardless of what's going on around us, but also regardless of what's going on inside of us. So even when the emotions are turbulent, even when the emotions are so turbulent that the turbulence becomes utterly convincing and creates all sorts of thoughts in the mind that are so real seeming, even then we are not deluded. Even then we're able to accommodate that as mere play and love it. Just love the experience of being alive. Because with this love, the love of being alive, everything is healed. Everyone is healed. So see that for a moment. See yourself now healed. That means whole. That means your face is glowing with a golden light. Your head is glowing with a violet light. Your body is glowing with an aqua light. And deep in your heart is burning this beautiful flame of love, which is being fueled by this power that is limitless coming through your belly. Sea of energy, wave after wave after wave after wave of the Tao's Qi, this motion, this flow, propelling you forwards on the path. And now, as gently and yet firmly as you can do it, allow yourself, without fear, to bring all that with you into the so-called everyday waking state, and allow yourself to feel refreshed and energized and enthusiastic. And if any questions have come in your mind or comments that you wish to make about the wrap at the beginning or any aspects of the meditation, if you can recall, or related subjects, please do now avail yourself of the instructions that esteemed producer Sue and the magical island of Ibiza is about to furnish you with. Here we go.
Hello.
Hello. I always know when it's powerful for you because you take a while to surface. It's like, it sounds like you're coming from far away. Oh, I've got to come back now.
I'm coming from the White Isle, and I have numerous things I have to click to try and get the correct slide on the screen and me speaking and all the rest of it. However, we're here now.
There's a whole lot of clicking going on.
There is indeed. Okay. Well, hello to everybody. Let's go to Gabby's comment, and she says, "Happy Easter. I feel so strongly the power of this time of year and celebrate it as the festival of awakening and rebirth. May all beings be released from suffering through awakening to their own power, united with the One. I'm so happy that we do this. I feel such a family vibe here and love this. Thank you so much for bringing this all to us and nurturing, growing and evolving the freed souls and the ripple effect that I feel more powerfully every day. Bless you and your team and all you do. Love from Gabby."
What a lovely, lovely comment. You lovely woman. That's really, really lovely. I think for me, all of that, very beautiful. The thing that stuck in my mind was the family, because that is it, isn't it? The human family. That's what it's all about. We've got to develop this sense of the human family more and more and more, and override those prejudices and fears and stuff, and just kind of just love the brother or sister that you see in front of you, whoever they are. It's the only way forwards, I think. And this is Ted, having just done the busy airport thing where you really, it always brings out that kind of like, fucking arsehole thing. You get that thing. It's the natural tendency to go into judgment about people, like, what a tosser that one is, what a dickhead that one is. But the overriding that and going, oh, no, there is the divine, bless you. And the things that happen as a result are amazing. I had a conversation this morning with a Turkish guy who didn't speak any English, and me neither Turkish. And yeah, it was beautiful. I went into this bar for a coffee, which is like a real shady one, where the bad people go. So it's a bit scary in there. And there was this real bad boy sitting there, and the two of us just sat, and we started smiling at each other, and he's speaking in Turkish, I was talking in English, and we knew we were connecting, right in each other's eyes. Beautiful, beautiful connection. It was just like the conversation was something like, because I smiled, and then he smiled, and I laughed at him. I laughed with him. I looked in his eyes, and I laughed, and the laugh was, this is such a beautiful game, isn't it, this whole thing. And he said, this is good. Good. That he got, we connected like that. And then we just sat and we kind of gestured that it's all about the heart being strong and open, and we open to each other, and there's the gift. There is the gift. There the divine shines. And that all happened in a few moments over a coffee in a smoky, naughty bar this morning, where all the people there were there from the night before, kind of thing. Yeah, anyway. Carry on.
This question is from David. You freaking... I'll try that again.
You freak. Barefoot doctor, you freak. You freaking freak. Yeah. You're right, you're right. I can't argue with that.
Try that one more time. This question's from David. You frequently mention you believe life is predestined. If so, why do visualizations or meditations? Thank you. Very grateful to you.
Well, David, you've got to understand when I say that, I mean, I don't believe it. I seem to experience it as that. I would never try to suggest that I knew. I think anyone that did has got to be a bit daft, really, because it's impossible to know. But there's a sense that it's a paradox, like particles and waves. There's a sense that it's all moving inevitably towards something, and at the same time, we're required to participate with the utmost of ourselves at all times for it to do that, as if it won't do that unless we really bring our full presence to bear on each and every moment with a clear intention about what we want to manifest. Then it does that for us. But it was going to do that anyway, and we were going to rise up to it anyway, is the sense I get. But that's just my own subjective experience. I'd never presume to say that's how it is, nor do I believe it, because believing for me is a state rather than something with an object at the end of it. And I say the reason we must meditate is because we have to, it feels to me to have the full experience of being alive, to occupy the deepest, biggest part of ourselves. We're obviously going to get a much deeper, bigger experience. And that's the point of meditating, to draw ourselves out of the limited state into the unlimited state. The visualization is a really interesting one, because what I'm finding, because you understand I'm like the sorcerer's apprentice. I'm experimenting, and I have been for decades, using the template and seeing what happens. And I noticed lately, I go through phases where I don't want to visualize anything for a long period, and I purposely don't, just to see what happens. And then I go through phases where I feel I must sharpen up my intention and see what happens. And where I've got to lately is the visualizations that seem to occur are ones that seem to come from far back behind me and arrive in the sort of the center of my consciousness of themselves. They're not ones that I conjure up from the front of my brain. They're not something that I intellectually contrive or concoct. They take effort, those ones, and they make me feel uncomfortable. These ones that come from somewhere, as it were, it's more a matter of uncovering them, discerning them. And they take no energy, they give energy. And if I let them impel me, it seems that they then bring me to the sort of the manifestation of my intention with relative ease, and in a certainly unexpected but always very elegant way. And then this requires me to have the courage to let go constantly of my expectations, and to note that when I'm investing in a particular picture, that's what I'm doing, and to remember to stop doing that and invest in loss instead. So keep investing in no picture and allowing what needs to come. And there again, I think I might have made that a little bit confusing and contradictory sounding, but that just illustrates, again, the sort of paradox of it all. That one has the intention, but the picture itself has to come to you rather than be concocted by us. I trust that was at least partially of help.
This next one is from Jen, who says that during the meditation, you were talking about our highest function being as a conduit between heaven and earth. The microcosmic orbit was flaring up and out of the crown chakra and down out of the base. I take it that's part of the connection, and to relax and let do it. I also felt what I can only describe as icy hot.
Icy hot, yeah. That's really well put. Yes, that sensation, when the orbit seems to kind of go out through the base of your body and keep going, and then come back up from the depths of wherever it is, and again at the top part of you, the same thing. That's when you have what they call activated the macrocosmic orbit. You've sent it macrocosmic, you've connected it you're connected with the flow throughout the cosmos. That's the Tao's orbit that you got into there. So yes, of course, let that happen. The excuse me, the icy hot is bang on. That's chi. It's like that. It's perfect. Icy hot. Yes, absolutely. And it's extremes. It's both really cold and really hot. And then in the middle of the flow, there's that, well, as you'd expect, a really nice, warm, perfect temperature of chi. So yes, that's the yin and the yang being balanced inside of you, because the down thrust is the yin and the up thrust is the yang. And so you're feeling the both. And by circulating regularly, if you do it every day, a little bit, a few times a day maybe, you then balance the yin and the yang, and the temperature, you're able to suck off that lovely warm bit in the middle and ride with that. That's the one you roll with, because it's most comfortable. I'm really surprised. I really wasn't expecting to get so profound. I was feeling so caught up in the sort of the external drama and the humour. I was doing comedy and everything. I was writing comedy sketches in my head all the time. But I was just sure I was going to just come in and start just being really silly. And yet, it really took me by surprise today. In a good way. It was commensurate, I think, with the time of the year.
So this next one is from Sylvia, who asks, what is intuition and does it increase with meditation?
Hello, Sylvia. What a great question. Well, yes, firstly, it does increase with meditation. Intuition literally means tuition from within. So you're being taught from within, guided from within. And it is another way of explaining how when you divest yourself of the filter that is comprised of your version of reality, in other words, the story that you tell yourself about what the world is and who you are, that local self frame, when you remove that filter, or to the extent you remove it or widen it out, is the extent to which you will see the full spectrum of light and sound at all times. And all the information that ever was, is, or will be is carried in the spectrum. So the more of the spectrum you're alert to, because that's really what it's about, so we operate through selective awareness. We limit our awareness to what we get used to being able to accommodate. But when we open up to more of it, we see more of it, we're able to receive more of the information there is. I was driving from Manchester to Heathrow Airport on Thursday, and it was still sunny, and I did the Native American trick that I was taught. It's not really a trick, it's just a way of tuning in, and I spoke to the sky, and I said, what are you going to do? What are you doing next? And it said to me, in 2 days, 3 days, rain, I rain. I bring water for you, I rain. And it did. It's exactly what happened. Wind. It said wind and rain, and that's what happened. There was a lot of wind through Europe over the last couple of days, and then rain. And that is intuition, you might say. But actually what it is the subconscious mind, the receptacle of all information, processing changes in air pressure, light, wind speeds, which you may think is ridiculous, but it does that, and coming up with the answer. It can feel it, it knows. The subconscious knows everything, absolutely everything. And the more we give it rein to inform us, the more of everything we'll know about whenever we want to know about it. And that's what intuition is. And it does, it happens all the time with me. I can, constantly happening more and more. The more I meditate, the more deeper I go into this practice, the more ordinary the intuitive guidance becomes. And in fact, it becomes extraordinary when it's not happening.
Well, sadly, nobody wants to talk live to you today, Stephen. And we have no more questions, but we do have one more comment from Teresa, who says she's struggling to come back from the meditation, but I do want to say a very big thank you for a most wonderful joining through the heart to one and all. Blessings, Stephen. Blessings, dear friends.
That's a lovely message, and blessings to you. And that's it, blessings, because blessing shares the same root as the word bliss. And the fundamental ground of being is bliss. And bliss is rapture. It's where you are transported beyond your local self, where pain and pleasure are operating as polarities. Behind pain and pleasure, the ground of all being, the Tao, its natural state is bliss. And hence we are blessed. We have just drank of the bliss of the Tao together, and from that, blessings ensue in real time, in linear time, for each of us here. And may it be so, and it is so. And please do feel free to email in with reports of how this has affected you and what happens to you in the subsequent days. I have a sense it will be good. And look out for world news as well, because we are still in a very precarious situation out there with the whole kind of argy-bargy going on between Russia and so on, and who are more than likely to kind of step up the truth thing this week, and how the West reacts to that, all of which is probably posturing. Watch how it dances into an elegant shape. I suspect it will do, as will many stories going on in the world. Miraculous resolutions, and to each of us in all of our lives with all the things that are going on. This is going to be a week of beautiful surprises, in other words. I'm coming out of my holy man mode and back to sort of street yob, so I better go. It's been lovely talking to you. Thank you so much for being here. Bless your heart. And next week is going to be even more amazing, is all I can say. And that's it. Goodbye.
Let all pain, suffering be dispelled. Let all pain, suffering be dispelled.